je suis Jessica Abraham-Gauthier, je suis journaliste au Bénin, membre du réseau des journalistes.
I'm Jessica Abraham-Gauthier, a journalist from Benin and a member of the network of journalists of the African Tobacco Control Alliance.
L'ATCA, qui est l'Alliance pour le contrôle du tabac.
Since 2021, the African Tobacco Control Alliance has launched a program named In Conversation With, in order to gather news from countries that are members of ATCA and to find out how they are progressing and to share their experiences with us, and of course to help other countries to make progress in tobacco control. That's why we have invited you here today. You are Mr. Inoussa Saouna, President of SOS Tabagisme Niger, which is a member organization of ATCA. This interview will look at tobacco control in your country, Niger, the introduction of graphic health warnings on cigarette packs will also be discussed, as well as the adoption of the ECOWAS directive.
On abordera également l'introduction des mises en garde.
The first question we have for you is to know that Niger has taken a big step, a giant step in tobacco control in the African region. Can you tell us about the latest development regarding tobacco control in your country?
Quelles ont été les dernières actualités dans la lutte anti-tabac dans votre pays?
Oui, merci beaucoup, madame.
Thank you very much, madam, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk very briefly about the tobacco control progress that has been made in Niger.
Niger est un des premiers pays de l'Afrique.
I'd like to remind you that Niger was one of the first countries in West Africa to ratify the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control in 2005 and passed a tobacco control law the following year. Of course, as is the case with many countries, implementing legislation is very difficult, and we have had some difficulties. But today, we can be pleased that almost all empower measures are more or less respected in Niger. There is no more tobacco advertising. Smoke-free spaces are gradually being created and respected, and as such, the ban on smoking in public places is being respected. But the most important thing I would like to note is that since 2022, health warnings have been applied throughout the country, and they are very well respected. This is a major step forward in tobacco control, for Niger joins the ranks of other African countries like Burkina Faso, Chad, Cameroon, and Senegal in implementing pictorial health warnings. In many African countries today, health warnings are being introduced. It's been a long time coming, but now it is here. So it is a significant step forward. It was a struggle that went on for several years. The other major progress is the strong taxation of tobacco products. You will recall that since 2017, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, adopted a directive requiring member states to apply specific taxes instead of ad valorem taxes. Niger's Finance Act of 2023 takes this into account and goes further with an additional tax of 200 francs on each packet of cigarette. These measures have been in effect since January 2023.
Et il y a une taxe additionnelle, c'est-à-dire après avoir payé tout ce qu'il vous faut comme taxe sur le cordon douanier, il y a une taxe additionnelle de 200.
We await the right moment to make an assessment to see the real impact of this tax increase, not only in terms of mobilizing resources at government level, but also in terms of tobacco consumption, because the objective of this measure is to increase the price of cigarettes.
Seulement sur la mobilisation des ressources au niveau de l'État, mais également par rapport à la consommation du tabac.
We hope to find the means to carry out an in-depth study to gauge the impact of this tax increase. These are the two major advances that have been made in Niger recently.
Pourquoi ça n'a pas une incidence sur l'augmentation des prix du tabac. Donc, en termes majeurs, voilà les deux grandes avancées qui ont été enregistrées au Niger depuis très récemment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Saouna.
Merci beaucoup à vous, Monsieur Saouna. Alors, on vient de le comprendre.
We take note that you spoke about tobacco taxation and, of course, the adoption of the ECOWAS directive. You explained a little about these new measures, but specifically, how do you intend to implement them?
This is a matter for the government. It's a matter of amending and incorporating it into the Finance Act. The government's objective is to have resources for the national budget, but our objective as public health promoters is that this measure should apply to the price of tobacco. For the moment, we haven't had any information. Till date, we don't know the degree of mobilization and application of this solution. But when the time is right, we'll look into it. We will conduct a mid-term assessment to identify the actual effect of this measure to our tobacco control efforts. Our objective is to see an increase in the price of tobacco products so that they are less accessible to a certain category of the population.
Thank you very much for the clarification. As part of Niger's commitment to protecting the health of its population, graphic health warnings have been introduced on cigarette packs. But how did you get to this point? And what are the lessons learned from the various measures that have been taken so far?
For health warnings and taxation, it took several years. It took more than 10 years to get there. It took a lot of patience, a lot of commitment, but also a lot of strategy. And it must be said that this is the result of partnership. We had the support of ATCA, we had the support of CTFK, the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, but we also had great support from the World Health Organization, which provided technical and even financial support to the government. As a result, we now have these health warnings. It is not a battle that is won easily and instantly. It is a battle that is won with patience and a combination of strategies.
Avec la patience, en combinaison les stratégies. Nous sommes des acteurs sociaux. Notre rôle.
We are social actors and our role is to advocate, but the decision remains with the government, and we've provided them with every necessary support. The tobacco industry in Niger resisted the health warnings, and the deadline was postponed at least 4 times. Finally, the industry complied. So it's been a long process. The phenomenon was same for health warnings. The process was aborted in 2018. We tried again unsuccessfully in 2020. In 2022, it was the government that took the lead following a major awareness campaign led by the WHO, the World Health Organization. Thanks to our combined efforts, we achieved this result, and we salute all the partners who have supported us through these very difficult times.
Qui nous ont soutenus dans ces moments très difficiles.
C'est ça. Alors, on comprend que engagement.
So it is clear that commitment, strategy, and support are the 3 key principles that have led to this result. So we are in the final round of this interview. What are the perspectives for tobacco control in your country, and how do you assess the progress made in the past few years in tobacco control in Africa in general?
Aujourd'hui, il faut le dire, au niveau de la société civile, depuis quelques années, nous sommes démunis. Nous n'avons plus de financement.
As far as civil society is concerned, it has to be said that for some years now, we have been without the required funding to carry out and sustain our activities. we are beginning to see a political commitment on the part of the government to have a more consistent budget that should be able to support tobacco control. But as we hope for progress in this regard, we remain committed and engaged. In the medium term, we need to create the conditions for an accurate assessment of the application of taxation measures. And at this level, I believe that ATCA is collaborating with other partners to work with the government of Niger to try to make progress. We also need to make progress in the fight against illicit trade because increasing taxes comes with a direct increase, or let's say influx, of contraband, which usually is organized by the tobacco industry. I know that strategic work is underway in this regard, and I am confident that it will produce results. While we heartily appreciate what is being done, we pray that donors can extend their portfolio to countries like Niger, which has for years now had no permanent funding to sustain the progress it has made in tobacco control. That will be my appeal.
Once again, we thank you, Mr. Inoussa Saouna, for giving us an overview of the perspectives for tobacco control in Niger. We would also like to thank ATCA for having initiated this program of In Conversation With. I will remind you that you are the president of SOS Tabagisme Niger, which is a member of the African Tobacco Control Alliance.
Et on va se dire à très bientôt. On espère vous revoir.
Merci vraiment. Merci Atka.
Thank you, Atka, for this initiative, and see you soon.